Amina's lips hovered near his throat like a promise she hadn't decided to keep. Kang Jae-min didn't move. He stood perfectly still in the dim corridor outside his private penthouse lounge, the city's neon bleeding through floor-to-ceiling glass behind her. His suit was immaculate, his posture calm, and his face so controlled it could have been carved. But his hand was at her waist. Not gentle. Not violent. A claim disguised as restraint. "You're lost," he said quietly. Amina's eyes slid to his mouth and back up, slow enough to be disrespectful. "No," she whispered. "I'm exactly where I planned to be." His fingers tightened for half a second, then steadied again. He didn't like the word planned. He didn't like the way she said it, like she owned the outcome. She leaned in closer without touching. Close enough that her breath warmed the side of his neck. "You shouldn't be this close," he murmured. Amina smiled faintly. "Then move." He didn't. She let the silence stretch until it started to feel like a third body pressed between them. "You've been watching me," he said. "Yes," she replied, too calm. His eyes sharpened. "For how long?" Amina didn't answer immediately. She let him feel the pause like a fingertip tracing the edge of his patience. "Long enough to know you don't let anyone touch you," she said softly. His jaw flexed. "And yet you're here. And yet you're holding me," she countered, voice lower. For a brief moment, his gaze dropped to her lips. Not hunger. Not softness. Assessment. Then he stepped back abruptly, hand leaving her waist as if contact was a mistake he refused to repeat. Amina didn't stumble. She didn't reach for him. She just adjusted her posture like nothing had happened, like she didn't feel the afterburn of his grip. He opened the lounge door without looking at her. "Come." Not an invitation. An instruction. If you felt that tension like the video right now, subscribe and comment. I'm locked in because this story only gets darker, hotter, and more dangerous from here. Inside, the lounge was quiet luxury built for secrets. Dark leather. Low lighting. A bar nobody else was allowed to use. A single wall of glass revealing soul like a glittering blade. Amina walked in like she belonged there. She had chosen a dress that didn't beg for attention. It demanded it. Black, fitted, restrained in the front, daring in the way it hugged her curves like it was made to remind men they weren't in control of their own thoughts. Jaemin didn't sit. Neither did she. He stayed by the window as if he needed distance to breathe. Amina stayed by the door as if she didn't need anything at all. He looked at her with the same calm he used before ordering men erased from the world. "What do you want?" he asked. Amina's eyes stayed steady. "Access." His mouth twitched, almost a laugh. "To my money?" "To your attention," she corrected. He took one slow step toward her. The air tightened. "You think you're the first woman to walk into my space and try to buy power with seduction?" Amina's gaze slid over him once, not admiring, not shy. Measuring. "I'm not buying," she said. "I'm positioning." Jaemin's eyes narrowed. "Positioning for what?" Amina moved one step closer. Not enough to touch him. Enough to make him feel her. "To sit beside you," she said softly. "Not beneath you." The silence sharpened. Amina watched his face for a reaction. He didn't give her one. But his eyes betrayed a fraction. Interest. Annoyance. Something. "Name," he said. "Amina Okoye." The name landed. He knew it. She saw recognition flash like a knife in the dark, then disappear. "Okoye," he repeated. "Yes." "You're far from Lagos." "Power doesn't have a home," she replied. He stared at her a moment longer. "Business," he said finally. "Speak." Amina nodded as if she'd been waiting for him to stop pretending he didn't want what she offered. "Your West African corridor is leaking," she said calmly. "Your intermediaries are stealing time, money, and control. They're comfortable because they think you can't reach them without making noise." Jaemin's gaze sharpened. "Explain how you know that." Amina pulled out her phone, tapped once, and placed it on the bar counter between them. "I don't guess," she said. "I verify." He didn't touch the phone immediately. He watched her instead. "Who are you connected to?" he asked. Amina smiled faintly. "People you can't intimidate." His eyes went colder. "You're here because you want something from me," he said. Amina's voice softened, intimate without warmth. "I'm here because you want something you don't realize you want yet." He didn't like that. He stepped closer, closing the distance until he was near enough that she could smell the clean sharpness of his cologne, near enough that her chest rose against the invisible boundary of his space. "You talk like you know me," he said. Amina's gaze didn't drop. "I know your pattern." His jaw flexed. "Say it." "You keep distance," she said quietly. "You let people orbit you but never touch the center. You keep your hands clean. You keep your heart colder than your weapons." His eyes darkened. "That's an assumption," he said. Amina stepped closer again. Just one pace. Now she was inside his space. No, she whispered. That's observation. He didn't move. He didn't push her back. That was the first mistake. Amina lifted her hand slowly, like she was offering him the choice to stop her. Her fingertips hovered over his lapel. He watched her hand. He could have caught her wrist. He didn't. Her fingers brushed his suit lightly. A small touch. Controlled. Deliberate. His throat moved when he swallowed. Amina saw it. Still human, she murmured. His hand snapped up and gripped her wrist. Firm. Possessive. Not violent. His voice dropped. Don't. Amina didn't pull away. She looked at his hand on her wrist as if it interested her more than it threatened her. People die for less, he said quietly. Then why am I still breathing? She asked, calm. His grip tightened a fraction, then released abruptly, as if he hated the way holding her felt like something he wanted. You're alive because I haven't decided, he said. Amina nodded slowly. Then decide. Silence. He stared at her a long moment. Then he turned away, walking toward the window again as if he needed to look at the city to remember who he was. Amina watched him, cold and patient. Send your proposal, he said. If it's useful, I'll consider it. Amina's lips curved faintly. It's already in your secure inbox. Jamin turned sharply. His eyes were sharper now. You have access to my systems. Amina's voice stayed calm. I have access to what I need. That's not impressive, he said. That's dangerous. Amina smiled, slow and composed. For who? She asked. Jamin's phone buzzed. He checked it, expression unreadable. Amina watched him watch the data. She didn't need to see the details. She had placed enough truth to hook him. He looked up slowly. You're too clean, he said. Amina tilted her head slightly. On paper? On everything, he said. People with no visible dirt are hiding it somewhere. Amina's gaze stayed steady. Maybe I'm just disciplined. He took one step toward her. You didn't come here for a partnership, he said quietly. You came here for leverage. Amina held his gaze. I came here for influence, she corrected. And you think seduction is your tool, he said. Amina's eyes softened just enough to lure. I think emotional control is, she said. His jaw tightened again. He didn't like that she said it out loud. He moved closer until she could feel the heat of him. He stopped a breath away. You're playing a game you can't finish, he murmured. Amina's voice lowered. I finish everything I start. For half a second it looked like he might kiss her. Not gentle. Not romantic. A punishment disguised as desire. Amina didn't move. She waited. He stopped himself. The restraint snapped back into place like a lock. You'll come to a meeting tomorrow, he said, voice colder. You'll observe. You'll speak only when spoken to. Amina smiled faintly. You want to see if I can obey. I want to see if you can survive, he replied. Amina nodded once. Fine. Jamin stared at her a moment longer. Leave, he said. Amina walked past him toward the door without rushing. At the threshold, she paused and turned just enough for him to see her profile. Just one touch won't hurt, she said softly. Then she added, quieter. But you're afraid it will. She left. The door closed. Jamin stood alone in the lounge, staring at the space where she had been. He hated that he could still smell her. He hated that he remembered the warmth of her fingertips on his suit like it had touched skin. He picked up his phone and called his security chief. Find everything, he said. Her money, her ties, her real name if that one isn't real. Yes, sir. I want weaknesses, Jamin added. Pause. Understood. He ended the call and stared out at the city again. Something about her wasn't just bold. It was targeted. And he could feel it. Downstairs, Amina stepped into the waiting car and slid into the back seat, calm as ever. Her driver spoke quietly. Hotel. Amina looked out the window. Take the long route. For safety? The driver asked. For observation, Amina replied. Her phone buzzed in her hand. A message opened in a hidden thread with no names, only symbols. Is he hooked? Amina typed without hesitation. He's biting. Then she added a second line. He's suspicious. That's fine. A third message arrived almost immediately. Tomorrow. The meeting. Chairman Han will be there. Amina's gaze sharpened for the first time. She typed a single word. Perfect. She put the phone down, expression composed, eyes cold. She had no emotional tie to what she was about to do. That was what made her effective. The car moved through Seoul's lights, then into darker streets where the city looked less like glamour and more like truth. 2 cars back, Jamin's men followed her. Quiet. Disciplined. Amina saw them reflected in a shop window and didn't look away. She wanted him watching. She wanted him curious. She wanted him to believe he was evaluating her. Meanwhile, she was evaluating the exact moment his restraint would turn into obsession. In his building, Jaemin stood behind tinted glass, watching the convoy leave. His security chief entered. "We ran the first checks," the chief said. Jaemin didn't turn. "And?" "She's clean," the chief replied. "Too clean." Jaemin's eyes narrowed slightly. "Exactly." The chief hesitated. "You want us to cancel tomorrow?" "No," Jaemin said quietly. "I want her in the room." "To test her?" the chief asked. "To see who reacts to her," Jaemin replied. "And to see what she reacts to." The chief nodded and left. Jaemin stayed by the window. He should have felt nothing. That was his rule. That was his identity. But his mind replayed her breath near his mouth. The way she didn't flinch when he gripped her wrist. The way she said plan like she owned him before she even met him. He hated that he wanted to pull her back just to see if she would still look that calm with his hand on her waist again. Amina arrived at her hotel suite and locked the door behind her. Only then did she allow herself a slow exhale. Not relief. Focus. She placed her phone on the table and walked to the window, staring out at the city. Her reflection in the glass looked composed. Cold. Unmoved. That was the point. Her phone buzzed again. "Do not let him touch you first. If he touches you first, the plan shifts." Amina stared at the message, then typed back. "He already wants to." She paused, then added, "I'll make him beg without knowing he's begging." She sent it and turned the phone face down. Tomorrow was the meeting. Tomorrow was where she'd plant the next seed. And in the room would be Chairman Han, a man who smiled like poison and remembered too much. A man connected to the truth Jaemin didn't know. A man who would test her. Amina's gaze stayed calm. Let him test. She was not here to be liked. She was here to destabilize a king. The next morning, Amina arrived at the building precisely on time. No rush. No hesitation. Jaemin's man escorted her through private corridors into a meeting room built for quiet violence and expensive decisions. When the door opened, a dozen men looked up. At the head of the table sat Kang Jaemin, expression flat, gaze locked on her like she was both threat and temptation. He didn't stand. He didn't smile. He just watched. Amina took the seat offered without asking for it. The meeting began. Numbers. Routes. Agreements disguised as courtesy. Amina listened, eyes moving subtly as she mapped power dynamics in real time. Then the door opened again. A man entered late, unbothered, scar across his cheek like a signature. Chairman Han. His eyes found Amina immediately. His smile widened slowly. Not surprised. Not curious. Recognizing. He walked past her seat, and his fingertips brushed the back of her chair too lightly to be accidental. Amina didn't flinch. She didn't look at him. But Jaemin saw the touch. His jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. Han took his seat and leaned back, gaze still resting on Amina like he was enjoying a private joke. "New face," Han said smoothly. Jaemin's voice cut through the room. "She's with me." The room shifted at the phrase. "With me." Amina's expression remained neutral. Han's smile sharpened. "Is that so?" His eyes lingered over Amina's figure, disrespect hiding behind politeness. Amina finally met his gaze. "You're late," she said calmly. The room went still. Han's smile didn't fade, but his eyes hardened. "And you're bold," he replied. Amina's voice stayed soft. "I'm on time." Han chuckled. Jaemin's gaze stayed fixed on Amina now, not Han. He was watching her pressure response. Amina remained calm, hands folded, posture elegant. Han leaned forward slightly. "Tell me," Han said, voice smooth, "do you believe in ghosts?" Amina met his gaze without blinking. "I believe truth resurfaces," she replied. Han's smile widened. "Does it?" Jaemin's pen snapped in his hand. A small sound. A sharp one. The meeting stalled for a heartbeat. Han glanced at the broken pen, then smiled as if pleased. "Careful, Kang," Han said lightly. "Some old friends don't stay buried." Amina kept her face neutral. But inside she registered the phrase. "Old friends." Jaemin's gaze flicked to her, sharp. He was watching for reaction. Amina gave him none. Not a blink. Not a breath change. Han's eyes remained locked on her, as if confirming that she understood exactly what he meant. And she did. Because she knew the truth about the man Jaemin believed dead. And Han knew she knew. The meeting continued, but the air had changed. Jaemin was no longer bored. He was alert. And Amina could feel the first real shift. Not love. Not softness. Possessiveness crawling up from somewhere Jaemin had buried it. When the meeting ended, men stood, voices breaking into smaller conversations. Amina rose calmly and moved toward the door. Chairman Han intercepted her, stepping into her path like he owned the space. "Miss Okoye," he said softly. Amina tilted her head slightly. "Chairman." Han smiled. You've grown, he murmured. Amina's expression stayed composed. I'm not sure we've met. Han's eyes gleamed. Oh, we have, he said. You just didn't have this name then. Amina's gaze stayed steady. That's a dangerous thing to say, she replied calmly. Han leaned closer, voice lowering. Dangerous is what you're doing, he whispered. He doesn't know. Amina's tone remained flat. He doesn't need to. Not yet. Han's smile sharpened. Jaemin watched from across the room, unable to hear but seeing the proximity. Seeing Han lean close. Seeing Amina hold her ground. A slow cold tension tightened in Jaemin's chest. Not attraction. Not only. A warning instinct. A need to control what he couldn't decode. Han's lips moved again and Amina's eyes stayed cold. You should tell him, Han whispered, almost amused. Amina replied just as quietly. Not yet. Jaemin's gaze hardened. That was the moment. He didn't know what was happening. But he knew it involved him. And he knew he didn't like anyone speaking to her like they had history he couldn't touch. Jaemin crossed the room without urgency, which was how dangerous men moved when they were about to make a point. Chairman Han stepped back at the exact moment Jaemin arrived, smile smoothing into something polite, harmless, false. Amina didn't move. She didn't look startled. She didn't look guilty. She looked like she'd expected Jaemin to come over, as if the entire exchange had been staged for his eyes. What did he say? Jaemin asked calmly. His voice was even. But his gaze wasn't. His eyes held Amina like a grip. Amina met his stare and offered him a slow blink, serene and unbothered. He said I have good posture, she replied. Chairman Han chuckled softly as if enjoying the lie. Jaemin didn't look at Han. He kept his attention on Amina. And you, Jaemin said, answered long enough for him to smile. Amina's lips curved faintly. You're counting seconds now? Jaemin's jaw tightened a fraction. Chairman Han's tone was amused. Kong, don't be so possessive. It doesn't suit you. That word landed hard. Possessive. Amina watched the way Jaemin's eyes sharpened. The restraint in his shoulders tightened, subtle, like a man gripping his own impulse by the throat. Jaemin finally glanced at Han, voice still calm. You're excused, he said. Han raised a brow. Excused? Yes, Jaemin repeated, the calm in his voice colder now. From my time. The room around them quieted, men pretending not to watch while watching anyway. Nobody liked being reminded who owned the air. Han smiled as if entertained rather than dismissed. Very well, he said, stepping back. But do keep her close, Kong. The city is full of surprises. Han looked at Amina one more time, just long enough to be a message. Then he walked away. Amina didn't follow him with her eyes. She followed Jaemin. He waited until Han was out of earshot, then leaned slightly closer to Amina, lowering his voice. Who is he to you? He asked. Amina's expression softened just enough to look innocent. No one, she said. Jaemin's gaze stayed locked. That's not true. Amina tilted her head. You don't like him. I don't care about him, Jaemin said. Amina's smile grew by a fraction. You snapped a pen. Jaemin's eyes narrowed. You're observant, he said. I'm strategic, she corrected. He stepped closer again. Too close for a business conversation. Close enough to be a warning. You're in my world, he said quietly. If you have ties to him, I need to know. Amina looked up at him, calm. And if I don't? She asked. Jaemin held her gaze, voice low. Then you become a liability. Amina's lips parted slightly. Is that why you're watching me like that? She asked softly. Because you're trying to decide whether I'm a liability, or an asset you want to keep? Jaemin's eyes darkened. Amina let the silence stretch until it started to feel like confession. Then she stepped half a pace closer, closing the space he'd created like she was erasing the boundary. I'm not connected to him, she said softly. He likes to feel important. And you let him, Jaemin said. Amina's gaze held his. I let him think he is, she replied. Jaemin stared at her a long moment. Then he spoke clipped. Tonight, he said. Dinner. Amina's expression stayed calm. Is that another instruction? It's a test, he corrected. Amina smiled faintly. You're testing me a lot. Jaemin's voice lowered. And you keep showing up. Amina's eyes warmed by the smallest degree, controlled warmth, weaponized. Because you're interesting, she murmured. Jaemin's gaze flicked to her mouth, then back. Don't, he said. Amina's smile lingered. Don't what? She asked softly. Don't pretend this is simple, he replied. Amina leaned in slightly, not enough to touch, enough to make him feel her breath again. It's not simple, she whispered. That's why you can't stop thinking about it. Jaemin's jaw tightened. He stepped back abruptly, turning away first as if the distance was an order to himself. Amina watched him go, calm on the outside, precise on the inside. He was attaching faster now. Suspicion, possessiveness, curiosity. He was building a cage in his mind and calling it caution. Amina walked out of the building escorted by one of his men. She kept her posture relaxed, gaze forward as if she hadn't just planted a seed in the most dangerous man in Seoul. Outside, her driver was waiting. In the car, she sat quietly, phone in hand, screen dark. The escort shut the door and stepped away. Amina didn't look back. She didn't need to. She knew Jae-min was watching from somewhere above. Her phone buzzed once. A new message from the hidden thread. Han confirmed? Amina typed with steady fingers. He recognized me. Then she added. He thinks he can control the timeline. Another buzz. And Kong? Amina's expression didn't change. She typed. He's already reacting. He just hates that he is. She slid the phone into her purse and looked out at the city. Tonight's dinner wasn't about food. It was about isolating him. Getting him to lean in. Getting him to want. Because the moment a man like Jae-min wanted, he became predictable. And predictable men broke. When she arrived at the restaurant, the maitre d' greeted her by name. The table wasn't in the main area. It was behind a private door, a corridor, and another door. A room built for secrets. Amina entered first and sat without fuss. She chose the seat with the best view of the door and the least exposure to the window. She wasn't paranoid. She was trained. A minute later, the door opened. Jae-min walked in. No visible guards again. That meant he trusted the room. Or trusted himself. He stopped for a brief moment at the door, eyes taking her in. Amina let him look. She wore deep red now. Not bright. Not playful. The kind of red that belonged in warnings and lipstick stains. Her curves were present without being exposed, framed by fabric that looked expensive enough to be armor. Jae-min didn't compliment her. Men like him didn't hand out softness. But his gaze lingered half a second longer than necessary. He sat opposite her. Silence. Then, calm and direct, he spoke. Tell me the truth, he said. What is your interest in me? Amina's expression stayed serene. You mean besides business? She asked. Yes, he replied. Amina leaned back slightly, letting the silence stretch. Then she said, voice soft. I'm curious. Jae-min's eyes narrowed. About what? About whether you can still feel, she replied. His expression turned colder. That's not your concern. Amina's eyes held his. Everything about you is someone's concern, she said. That's the cost of power. Jae-min's gaze tightened. You provoke me, he said. Amina's lips curved faintly. You react. He didn't deny it. That was another small win. A waiter entered, poured water, left. The door closed again. Amina felt the quiet deepen. Private room. 2 people. No witnesses. Jae-min's voice lowered. Han recognized you, he said. Amina didn't flinch. He pretended. He didn't pretend, Jae-min replied calmly. He knew you. Amina sighed softly as if mildly bored. He knows a lot of people, she said. Jae-min watched her. You're lying, he said. Amina's eyes remained calm, but she leaned forward slightly. Do you want the truth, she asked softly, or do you want reassurance? Jae-min's jaw tightened. I want control, he said. Amina smiled. That's honest. Jae-min's gaze narrowed. You enjoy this. I enjoy winning, she replied. His eyes darkened. Careful, he said quietly. With what? She asked. With making me want to prove you wrong. Amina's smile slowed. You don't want to prove me wrong. Jae-min's gaze locked. What do I want? Amina held his stare like it was a rope she could pull. You want to touch, she said softly. But you're afraid that if you do, you won't stop. Jae-min's expression hardened instantly. You don't know what you're talking about. Amina leaned in, voice lower. Then touch me, she whispered. And prove it. Silence. A heavy, charged silence. Jae-min's hand moved. Not fast. Not impulsive. Deliberate. He reached across the table and took her wrist. Firm. Possessive. The contact snapped through the air like a cable tightening. Amina's pulse jumped once beneath his fingers. She didn't pull away. She watched him, eyes steady. Jae-min's voice was quiet. You want me to touch you, he said. Amina's lips parted slightly. I want you to choose, she whispered. Instead of pretending you don't have desires. Jae-min's grip tightened slightly, then eased. He stared at her wrist like he was seeing it more than feeling it. His thumb moved once over her pulse. Not a caress. A confirmation. Amina didn't smile. She didn't give him the satisfaction. She kept her face calm as if she wasn't affected, as if his hand on her body was just data. Jae-min released her wrist abruptly. He leaned back, eyes colder now. You're dangerous, he said. Amina smiled faintly. So are you. Jamin's gaze sharpened. No. You're dangerous in a different way. Amina's voice softened. You mean, she murmured, because you can't shoot your way out of me. Jamin's jaw flexed. He didn't answer. Because that was true. A waiter entered with food, set it down, left. They ate in silence for a minute. Then Jamin spoke again, calm but edged. What do you know about me? He asked. Amina lifted her glass slowly. What do you want me to know? She asked. Jamin's eyes narrowed. Amina sipped calmly, then set the glass down. I know your reputation, she said. Untouchable. Emotionless. A man who keeps distance like it's a religion. Jamin watched her. And what else? He asked. Amina's gaze held his. I know you're not that, she said softly. Jamin's expression hardened. Don't, he said again. Amina leaned in slightly. You keep saying that, she murmured. But you keep bringing me closer. Jamin's eyes darkened. He stood abruptly. The chair moved back with a soft scrape. Amina didn't move. Jamin walked around the table slowly, controlled, until he stood behind her chair. He didn't touch her. Not yet. But his presence behind her made the air feel smaller. Amina's breath stayed steady. She tilted her head slightly as if acknowledging the shift. You're doing it again, she said calmly. Doing what? Jamin asked, voice low behind her. Trying to intimidate me, Amina replied. Jamin leaned closer, his mouth near her ear. I'm not trying, he murmured. Amina's pulse spiked. She didn't let it show. You could kill me, she said softly. Yes, he replied. Amina's eyes didn't flicker. But you won't. Jamin's voice dropped even lower. Why are you so sure? He asked. Amina leaned her head slightly toward him, breath brushing the air near his cheek without touching. Because you don't want me gone, she whispered. You want me close enough to control. Silence. Jamin's hand finally came down to her shoulder. A firm touch. Not gentle. Not rough. A claim again. Amina felt the heat of his palm through the fabric. Jamin's voice was quiet, near her ear. You're too confident, he said. Amina's lips curved faintly. And you're too interested. Jamin's fingers tightened slightly on her shoulder. For someone who doesn't feel, Amina added softly, you're holding me like you do. Jamin's hand slid down from her shoulder to the side of her neck. Not gripping. Positioning. The kind of touch that wasn't soft but still intimate. Amina's breath caught once. Jamin felt it. His hand paused. That pause was the crack. Because he noticed her reaction. Because it mattered. Amina's voice softened. Now you're thinking, she whispered. Jamin's hand dropped abruptly, and he stepped back as if angry at himself. He returned to his seat, eyes cold. Amina turned slightly in her chair to face him again, calm. You're playing games, he said. I'm playing chess, she replied. You're the one moving without thinking. His gaze sharpened. You don't know what I've buried, he said quietly. Amina's expression remained composed. I know you buried something, she replied. Men like you don't build empires without blood and loss. Jamin's jaw tightened. Stop, he said. Amina leaned forward slightly. Why? She asked softly. Because if you talk about it, you'll feel it? Jamin's eyes went very dark. You don't get to speak about my past, he said. Amina's tone stayed calm. Then don't let it control you, she replied. Silence. The room felt smaller. Jamin stared at her for a long moment. Then, unexpectedly, his voice dropped. You want access, he said. Then you'll earn it. Amina's expression didn't change. How? Jamin's gaze held hers. You'll come to my building tomorrow, he said. Not for meetings. Not for performance. Amina waited. You'll come, he continued, and you'll sit in my space while my men move around you. You'll see how my world breathes. Amina's lips curved slightly. You want to bring me into your den. I want to see if you're still calm when you're surrounded, Jamin replied. Amina nodded slowly. And if I am? She asked. Jamin's eyes lingered on her, slow. Then I'll decide how close you're allowed, he said. Amina leaned in slightly, voice soft. You keep talking about permission, she whispered. But you touched me first. Jamin's jaw tightened. Amina's eyes held his. And you stopped yourself, she added. That must be exhausting. Jamin's gaze darkened. Then he stood again, this time moving toward the door. Dinner is over, he said. Amina rose calmly. She didn't protest. She didn't chase. She followed at her pace, letting him feel that she was not desperate for him. At the door he paused, turning back slightly. Don't speak to Han again, he said. Amina's expression softened into something almost amused. Jealous? She murmured. Jamin's voice was cold. Cautious. Amina stepped closer, stopping within inches. Her eyes lifted to his. If you were cautious, she whispered, you wouldn't have brought me here. Jaemin's gaze dropped to her lips again, then to her eyes. Go home, he said, voice low. Amina smiled faintly. I already told you, she murmured. Power doesn't have a home. She walked past him and left the restaurant. Outside, the night air hit her skin. Jaemin's men were waiting in the shadows, maintaining distance. Amina stepped into her car. As the door shut, her phone buzzed. A message from the hidden thread. Did he touch you? Amina typed with steady fingers. Yes. Then she added. And he stopped himself. That's the weakness. A new message came instantly. On. Amina's eyes stayed calm. He's going to push. Let him. Another buzz. Timeline? Amina's fingers moved. Tomorrow I enter his inner world. After that, we press. She put the phone away. In the penthouse, Jaemin stood by his window again, jaw tight. His security chief entered quietly. Chairman Han requested a private conversation, the chief said. Jaemin didn't look away from the city. Denied, he replied. The chief hesitated. Sir, he insists it concerns. Jaemin's voice cut in. Denied. The chief nodded and stepped back. A beat passed. Then the chief added carefully. Sir. Chairman Han said, and I quote, ghosts don't stay buried forever. Jaemin's body went still. Not tense. So. Aina's words from earlier echoed in his mind, unwanted. Truth resurfaces. Jaemin's eyes narrowed at the city lights. What did he mean? Jaemin asked quietly. The chief swallowed. We don't know, sir. Jaemin turned slowly. His expression was calm. Too calm. Find out, he said. Yes, sir. And Amina, Jaemin added. I want eyes on her. Always. The chief nodded. Understood. Jaemin stood alone again. His mind replayed the moment his hand had touched her neck. The way she didn't flinch. The way she dared him with her calm. And the way he had stopped himself like stopping was supposed to make him stronger. It didn't. It made him aware of how much he wanted. In her hotel suite, Amina stood in front of the mirror, removing her earrings slowly. Her face was composed. Her eyes were cold. Her phone buzzed again. A new message. Han is moving. He wants to meet you privately. He'll come to your hotel. Amina stared at the screen. Then she typed. Let him. She set the phone down. A knock came at her door a minute later. Amina opened it without hesitation. Chairman Han stood in the hallway, smiling. Miss Okoye, he said softly. May I come in? Amina stepped aside, letting him enter. The door clicked shut behind him. Han's smile widened as he looked around her suite. Still disciplined, he murmured. Amina's expression didn't change. What do you want? She asked. Han took a slow step closer. You're playing a dangerous game, he said. Kang is not a man you can unmake and walk away from. Amina's eyes remained calm. I'm not walking away, she replied. Han's smile sharpened. You think you control the timeline, he said. But you don't. Amina held his gaze. Then enlighten me, she said. Han leaned in slightly, voice lowering. He's starting to feel, he whispered. And when he feels, he becomes violent. Not with fists. With decisions. Amina's face stayed serene. That's the point, she replied. Han's eyes gleamed. And when he learns the truth, he murmured, he'll burn the world to find the man he thinks is dead. Amina's lips curved faintly, cold. Not if I guide where the fire goes, she said. Han chuckled softly. You really are cold, he murmured. Do you know what's funny? Amina didn't answer. Han's voice dropped. The man you're using as leverage, he said, is alive. Amina's expression did not change. But the room felt like it tightened around the words. Han watched her carefully. No surprise? He asked. Amina's voice was flat. I know, she said. Han's smile faltered for the first time. You know, he repeated. Amina nodded once. Han's eyes narrowed. Then why hasn't he been told? Han asked. Amina's gaze stayed cold. Because I'm not finished, she replied. Silence. Han stared at her as if reassessing what kind of monster she was. You're going to break him, Han said softly. Amina's voice was quiet. I'm going to reshape him, she replied. Han leaned closer, almost whispering now. And when he finds out you knew, he said, he'll kill you. Amina's lips curved faintly. Then I'll make sure, she murmured. He's too obsessed to do it. Han stared at her, then let out a low laugh. You're worse than I remembered, he said. Amina's eyes didn't soften. I'm more effective, she corrected. Han stepped back slightly, smile returning. Careful, he said. You think you're the one holding the match. But Kang's world is built on gasoline. Amina met his gaze. And yours is built on secrets, she replied. Han's smile tightened. He moved toward the door. Before leaving, he turned back. One more thing, he said softly. Amina waited. Han's eyes gleamed. He's already watching you, he murmured. Not like a businessman. Like a man who thinks you belong to him. Amina's expression remained calm. Good, she said. Han shook his head faintly, amused and unsettled, then left. The door shut. Amina stood still for a long moment. Then she picked up her phone and typed a message to the hidden thread. Han confirmed. We proceed. She added. Kang touched first. He's already slipping. Then she put the phone down and walked to the window. Down below, a black car sat across the street, engine idling. Jaemin's men. Watching. Amina's reflection in the glass looked like a woman untouched by guilt. Cold. Composed. Dangerous. She whispered to herself so softly the room barely caught it. Beg, she murmured. Not with your mouth. With your choices. And somewhere in Seoul, Kang Jaemin stared at the city and didn't know he was already trapped. If you're still here, don't forget to like, comment and hit the subscribe button right now. Jaemin did not sleep. He lay in the dark of his penthouse bedroom, eyes open, staring at the ceiling as if answers might form in the shadows. He told himself it was Chairman Han's words that bothered him. Ghosts don't stay buried forever. But when he closed his eyes, it wasn't Han's face he saw. It was hers. The way she didn't flinch. The way she leaned into danger like it was warmth. The way she told him he wanted to touch. He turned onto his side and exhaled sharply. He didn't want. He chose. That was the difference. And he was choosing distance. Morning came without softness. By noon, Amina was escorted into his building again. This time not into a meeting room. Into the heart of his empire. His private operations floor. Men moved with disciplined urgency. Phones rang. Screens flashed shipping routes, coded exchanges, and live feeds from ports across continents. Amina walked beside him in heels that made no apology for their sound. She didn't stare at the men, she didn't look intimidated. She observed. Jaemin noticed. You're too calm, he said without looking at her. Amina's gaze remained forward. I've been in louder rooms. Louder? He asked. Rooms where decisions meant death, she replied evenly. He glanced at her then. You talk like you've seen blood, he said. Amina met his eyes briefly. I've seen consequences, she corrected. He didn't ask further. Instead, he led her into his private office. The door closed. The noise outside faded. Amina stood near his desk, posture relaxed but alert. You said you wanted to see how my world breathes, Jaemin said. I'm breathing fine, she replied. His eyes narrowed slightly. He walked around her slowly, not touching, but close enough that she could feel the weight of his presence. You don't look impressed, he said. I'm not here to be impressed, she replied. What are you here for? He asked quietly. Amina turned slightly, their eyes meeting. You, she said. The air shifted again. He stepped closer, voice low. That answer is getting repetitive. Because it's honest, she replied. He stopped inches from her. You think proximity equals power, he said. Amina's lips curved faintly. I think power reveals itself in proximity, she corrected. He stared at her for a long moment. Then suddenly his hand came up and cupped the back of her neck. Not gently. Not violently. Firm. Amina's breath hitched before she could stop it. He noticed. His thumb pressed lightly at the base of her skull. You don't get to study me like I'm a project, he said quietly. Amina's pulse raced under his palm. She forced her voice steady. Then stop reacting like data, she whispered. His grip tightened. You enjoy pushing, he said. I enjoy seeing where men break, she replied. He leaned closer, their foreheads nearly touching. And what if I don't break? He asked. Amina held his gaze. Then you bend, she said softly. His jaw flexed. He didn't kiss her. He didn't let himself. Instead, he released her abruptly and stepped back. You're dangerous, he said again. You keep saying that, she replied. But you keep bringing me closer. He moved behind his desk and leaned against it, arms folded. You'll attend tonight's negotiation, he said. With Han? She asked. Yes. Amina tilted her head slightly. You're testing me or testing him? She asked. Both, he replied. Amina nodded. Good, she said. He watched her closely. You're not afraid of him, he said. Amina's expression didn't change. I don't fear men who hide behind smiles, she replied. You don't know what he's capable of, Jaemin said. Amina's eyes sharpened slightly. And you do? She asked. His jaw tightened. Silence lingered. Amina stepped closer again, slow, deliberate. You're protective, she murmured. He looked at her sharply. I'm cautious, he corrected. Amina smiled faintly. You didn't tell me not to talk to anyone else, she said. You told me not to talk to him. His eyes darkened. That's because I know him, he replied. And you don't know me? She asked softly. His gaze held hers. I'm trying to, he said. There it was. Crack. Amina felt it. She stepped even closer, close enough that she could feel the heat radiating off him. And what have you learned? She asked. That you're hiding something, he replied. Amina's lips curved faintly. And yet you still brought me into your core, she said. His jaw flexed. You intrigue me, he admitted. Amina's pulse quickened. She didn't let it show. Careful, she whispered. That sounds like attachment. His expression hardened instantly. It's not, he said. Amina held his gaze. Then prove it, she murmured. He stepped forward again. This time his hand went to her waist. Strong. Possessive. Amina's breath caught. His grip tightened slightly. Don't mistake interest for weakness, he said quietly. Amina's voice softened. I'm counting on it, she replied. He stared at her. Then his hand slid from her waist to her lower back. Not inappropriate. Not gentle. Claiming. Her body reacted before her mind did. He felt it. He leaned closer. You don't feel nothing, he said. Amina swallowed. You're trying to make me, she whispered. He looked at her like he might devour her. Instead he stepped back again. Control. Always control. A knock interrupted them. His security chief entered. Chairman Han has arrived, the chief said. Jaemin's expression returned to ice. Send him in, he said. Amina stepped slightly to the side. Han entered with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Well, Han said lightly, looking between them, this is cozy. Jaemin's voice was flat. State your business. Han's gaze lingered on Amina. I see you've integrated her quickly, he said. She's observing, Jaemin replied. Han smiled. Of course she is. Amina met Han's gaze calmly. You're early, she said. Han chuckled. I like to stay ahead of surprises, he replied. His eyes flicked to Jaemin. You're taking risks, Han said casually. I always do, Jaemin replied. Han leaned slightly forward. Even with ghosts? He asked. Amina watched Jaemin's reaction carefully. His jaw tightened. Be clear, Jaemin said. Han's smile widened. Clarity is expensive, he said lightly. Amina stepped forward. If you have something to say, she said calmly, say it. Han's eyes shifted to her. Careful, he murmured. You don't want him asking the wrong questions too soon. Jaemin's gaze snapped to Amina. Too soon? He repeated. Han smiled. Relax, he said. I'm referring to business. Amina's face remained composed. Han walked around the room slowly, like he was enjoying the tension. You know, Han said, men who build empires on loyalty often forget that loyalty can resurrect. The word resurrect hung in the air. Jaemin's body went still. Amina felt it. Han's eyes flicked between them. You're playing with fire? Han murmured. Amina's voice stayed calm. Then bring water, she replied. Han laughed softly. Jaemin's gaze moved between them. You two know each other? He said. Amina didn't answer immediately. Han did. Not well enough, he said. Silence thickened. Jaemin's suspicion sharpened. Amina stepped toward him slowly, turning her back slightly to Han. You're overthinking, she said quietly to Jaemin. His eyes searched hers. Am I? He asked. Amina's hand rose and lightly adjusted his tie. The room went very still. Han watched carefully. Amina's fingers brushed Jaemin's collar. Intimate. Deliberate. Focus, she whispered. Jaemin's throat tightened. Han smiled faintly. You see. Han said. She's good. Jaemin's gaze darkened. Leave, he told Han. Han raised a brow. You don't want to discuss expansion? He asked. Not now, Jaemin replied. Han studied Amina one last time. Be careful what you wake, he murmured. Then he left. The door closed. Silence. Jaemin's eyes remained on Amina. You touched me in front of him, he said. Amina's expression stayed neutral. You let me, she replied. His jaw tightened. You're provoking him, he said. I'm provoking you, she corrected. He stared at her. You want jealousy, he said. Amina's lips curved faintly. I want reaction, she replied. He stepped forward suddenly, gripping her waist again. Harder this time. You don't get to use me, he said quietly. Amina's pulse raced. I already am, she whispered. His hand tightened. You're pushing too far, he said. Amina held his gaze. Then push back, she replied. The air felt electric. He leaned in, lips inches from hers. She didn't close the gap. She waited. His breath hit her mouth. Her heart hammered. He hovered there so close that it hurt. Then he stopped. Again. He pulled back sharply. Not like this, he said. Amina's voice was soft. Then how? She asked. He looked at her like he didn't trust himself. You're manipulating me, he said. Amina's expression softened slightly. And you're letting me, she replied. Silence. Heavy. Dangerous. He stepped away, running a hand through his hair. You don't get to talk about my past, he said suddenly. Amina watched him carefully. I didn't, she said. You implied, he snapped. Amina's tone remained calm. Something hurt you, she said. You built walls around it. That's obvious. His eyes went very dark. You know nothing, he said. Amina held his gaze. Then let me, she whispered. He stared at her like she'd offered him something impossible. Before he could answer, his phone buzzed. He checked it. His expression shifted. Not rage. Something colder. He looked at Amina. Chairman Han just requested access to archived files, he said. Amina's face didn't move. About what? She asked. Jamin's eyes narrowed. About my former right hand, he said. The air thickened. Amina kept her breathing steady. And, she asked. Jamin's voice lowered. He died, he said. Years ago. Amina's expression remained composed. Did he? She asked softly. Jamin's eyes snapped to hers. What does that mean? He asked. Amina held his gaze. Sometimes, she said quietly, men don't die when they're supposed to. Silence. A charged, suffocating silence. Jamin's suspicion sharpened into something sharper. Do you know something? He asked. Amina's lips curved faintly. Would you tell me if you did? She countered. He stepped closer again, grabbing her wrist firmly. Don't play with this, he said. Amina looked at his hand on her skin, then back at his eyes. I'm not playing, she whispered. His grip tightened. If you know something about him, he said, voice low and dangerous, you tell me now. Amina's heart pounded. This was the edge. She had to pull back. Not yet. She leaned closer instead. And if I do, she murmured, you won't like the answer. His jaw flexed. Say it, he demanded. Amina held his gaze for a long second. Then she said softly, you're not ready. And that was when something in him cracked. Not fully, but enough. His eyes flashed with something that wasn't just anger. It was fear. An obsession. He released her abruptly. Get out, he said. Amina didn't argue. She walked toward the door slowly. At the threshold, she turned slightly. You want the truth, she said quietly. But first you need to decide whether you want me. She left. Jamin stood alone in his office, chest tight. The ghost he had buried clawed at the edges of his control. And now there was a woman standing between him and the truth. If you're still here, don't forget to like and subscribe and comment below where you're watching from. Jamin did not chase her. That was the first decision. He let her walk out of his office, let the door close, let the silence settle. His security chief hovered near the hallway cameras, waiting for instruction. Follow? The chief asked quietly. Jamin's eyes were fixed on the screen showing Amina stepping into the elevator. No, he said. That surprised even him. You should have followed. You should have contained. You should have controlled. Instead, he let her leave. And that was the second crack. Because control had started to feel reactive instead of absolute. His phone buzzed again. A secure notification. Archived access request escalated. Chairman Han. Former right-hand file. Status, deceased. Jamin stared at the word. Deceased. He had seen the body. He had stood in the rain. He had buried him. Or thought he had. The memory tightened in his chest like a fist. He closed the file without reading further. Not yet. Not while her voice echoed in his head. You're not ready. Downstairs, Amina stepped into the car and closed the door without looking back. The driver glanced at her in the mirror. Home? He asked. No, she said softly. Drive. Her phone buzzed. Message from the hidden thread. Did he push? Amina typed calmly. He demanded. She stared at the screen a moment before replying. He's closer than expected. Another buzz. Timeline? She exhaled slowly. We accelerate. She put the phone down and looked out at the city. Her expression was composed. Cold. But her pulse hadn't settled yet. She hadn't expected him to grab her wrist like that. Hadn't expected the flash in his eyes when she hinted at the truth. That flash wasn't just anger. It was terror. And that was the most dangerous emotion in a man like Kang Jae-min. Because terror didn't make him weak. It made him ruthless. She needed him destabilized. Not explosive. That required precision. Her phone buzzed again. Han wants to meet tonight. Amina's gaze sharpened. Alone. She typed one word. Fine. In the penthouse, Jamin opened the archived file. He hadn't looked at it in years. The image appeared first. A younger version of himself standing beside the only man he had ever trusted fully. Vincent. Best friend. Right hand. Brother in everything but blood. Status. Confirmed deceased during port incident. Report body recovered. Identification. Visual and secondary confirmation. Jamin's jaw tightened. Visual. Secondary. No DNA. He had not questioned it then. He had not wanted to. Because grief had been easier than doubt. His phone buzzed again. On. He let it ring once. Twice. 3 times. Then he answered. What? Jamin said calmly. Han's voice was smooth. You're digging, Han said. I'm thorough, Jamin replied. A soft chuckle. Careful what you unearth, Han said. Some truths destabilize empires. Jamin's voice dropped. If you have something to say, say it. Han paused. You brought her in, Han said instead. Yes. Do you trust her? Jamin didn't answer immediately. That silence was answer enough. Han's voice lowered. She knows, Han said. Jamin's body went still. Knows what? He asked quietly. Han smiled audibly. Ask her, he said. The line disconnected. Jamin stared at the phone. She knows. The phrase landed like a blade. He grabbed his jacket and left the penthouse without another word. In the private room of a different building across the river, Amina sat across from Chairman Han. No guards inside. Only cameras outside the door. Han poured himself a drink and didn't offer her one. You're pushing too fast, he said. Amina leaned back slightly. You're nervous, she replied. Han's eyes narrowed. You think you're in control, he said. Amina's voice stayed calm. I am. Han smiled faintly. You underestimate grief, he said. Amina's gaze remained steady. I don't deal in grief, she replied. I deal in leverage. Han leaned forward. He loved him, Han said. Amina didn't blink. I know, she said. And when he learns that his brother is alive, Han continued, he will not thank you. Amina's tone stayed even. I'm not looking for gratitude. Han studied her face. For what then? He asked. Amina's eyes cooled further. For alignment, she said. Han let out a short laugh. You want him destabilized enough to choose you over structure, he said. Amina didn't deny it. Han's smile faded slightly. You're gambling, he said. I calculated, she replied. Han stood slowly. You don't calculate the human heart, he said. Especially not his. A knock interrupted them. Han frowned. I gave no permission, he said. The door opened anyway. Jamin stood there. So, controlled. But his eyes were not. Amina did not turn immediately. She had felt him before she saw him. The temperature in the room changed when he entered. Han looked between them. Well, he said lightly. This is dramatic. Jamin's voice was quiet. Leave. Han raised a brow. You're in my building, Han said. Jamin's gaze sharpened. Leave, he repeated. Han hesitated, then shrugged and stepped toward the door. As he passed Amina, he murmured softly enough for only her to hear. Now, he said. Let's see. The door closed. Silence. Heavy. Charged. Jamin's eyes locked onto Amina. You met him alone? He said. Amina turned slowly in her chair to face him. Yes. Why? He asked. Amina held his gaze. Because he requested it, she said. And you thought that was safe? He pressed. Amina's lips curved faintly. I don't scare easily. His jaw tightened. That's not what I asked. Amina stood slowly. She walked toward him without rushing. Why are you here? She asked instead. His eyes darkened. You know something, he said. Amina's expression remained unreadable. And if I do? She asked softly. His voice dropped. You don't get to use him, he said. There it was. Not a question. A claim. A warning. Amina stepped closer. I'm not using him, she said. Then what are you doing? He demanded. Amina's gaze softened by a fraction. Preparing you, she whispered. His eyes flashed. For what? He asked. Amina inhaled slowly. For the truth. Silence crashed into the room. Jamin stepped closer. What truth? He asked quietly. Amina held his gaze. You never confirmed the body, she said. His face went cold. Careful, he warned. Amina's voice didn't shake. You accepted what you were shown, she continued. You didn't demand proof. His jaw flexed. I buried him, he said. Amina's eyes did not move. You buried a coffin, she replied. The room felt like it tilted. Jamin's breath shifted. Say it, he demanded. Amina swallowed once. He's alive, she said. Silence. Complete. Absolute. Jamin stared at her as if she had spoken a foreign language. That's not funny, he said. Amina didn't smile. I'm not joking. His eyes went darker than she had ever seen. Who told you? He asked. Amina didn't answer immediately. Who told you? He repeated. Amina stepped even closer. You want the truth? She asked. Yes, he snapped. Amina held his gaze. I've known for months, she said. The words landed like a detonation. His body went rigid. You knew, he repeated. Yes. And you said nothing, he said. Amina's voice stayed calm. You weren't ready. His laugh was short and dangerous. Ready? He repeated. Amina held her ground. You built your identity on that death, she said. If I told you too soon, you would have burned everything. His eyes blazed. And now, he demanded. Amina's voice lowered. Now you have something to lose. Silence. His chest rose and fell sharply. You manipulated me, he said. Yes, she replied. The honesty hit harder than denial. You got close, he continued. Yes. You provoked me. Yes. You made me. He stopped. Amina stepped into him. You made you, she whispered. His hand shot up and pinned her against the wall. Art. Not violent enough to injure, but enough to claim. You think this is a game? He asked quietly. Amina's breath hitched. No, she said. His hand tightened at her waist. You knew he was alive, he said. Yes. And you waited, he said. Yes. His forehead pressed against hers. You used my grief, he said. Amina's voice softened. I used your blind spot. His eyes burned. I should kill you, he said. Amina didn't flinch. You won't, she whispered. Why? He asked. Amina held his gaze. Because if you kill me, she said softly, you lose the only person who knows where he is. Silence. The balance shifted. He pulled back slightly. Where? He demanded. Amina's lips curved faintly. Now you're ready, she said. He stared at her. You're enjoying this, he accused. Amina's expression finally changed. Not softness. Not guilt. Resolve. I don't enjoy grief, she said. I enjoy alignment. He searched her face. Why? He asked. Amina inhaled slowly. Because when you learn the truth, she said, you will have to choose. Choose what? He asked. Whether you're the man who mourned, she said, or the man who fights. His jaw tightened. And where do you fit? He asked. Amina's eyes held his. Beside you, she said. Silence. His hand loosened. Not fully, but enough. You knew I'd react, he said. Yes. You knew I'd get close, he said. Yes. You planned this from the beginning, he said. Yes. And you still expect me to trust you? He asked. Amina's voice lowered. No, she said. He stared at her. Then what? He demanded. Amina leaned in slightly. I expect you to want me anyway, she whispered. That hit harder than the truth, because it was accurate. He stepped back slowly. You're ruthless, he said. Amina nodded. I had to be. He studied her face for the first time not as prey or threat, but as partner. Where is he? He asked quietly. Amina held his gaze. Alive, she said. Hidden. And closer than you think. His jaw tightened. Take me to him, he said. Amina's lips curved faintly. Not yet, she replied. His eyes flared. You don't control this, he said. Amina stepped closer again. Yes, she said softly. I do. Silence. Then something unexpected happened. He didn't grab her. He didn't threaten her. He kissed her. Art. Not gentle. Not soft. A collision. A war. A claim and a challenge at the same time. Amina's breath caught. She kissed him back. Not melting. Not surrendering. Matching. His hands moved to her waist again. This time not stopping. This time choosing. He pulled back slightly, breathing heavier. You don't get to control me, he said. Amina's lips were close to his. I don't need to, she whispered. You're choosing. His eyes darkened. You're coming with me, he said. Where? She asked. To burn down the lie, he replied. Amina smiled faintly. Finally, she said. He stared at her. You think this makes us equal? He asked. Amina's gaze held his. No, she said softly. This makes us dangerous. Silence. Then he nodded once. A decision. You stand beside me, he said. Not behind. Amina stepped into him again. Always, she replied. Outside, Chairman Han watched the security feed from another building. He saw the kiss. He saw the proximity. He exhaled slowly. They chose each other, he murmured. And that was the real danger. Because together they were no longer destabilized. They were aligned. And alignment was lethal. If you made it to the end, like and subscribe. Because when two predators stop circling each other and start hunting together, the world doesn't survive it.